Rome, August 10th, 258 AD. A massive crowd gathers beneath the scorching summer sun. In the center of a public square, a man is chained. Soldiers drag him toward an enormous iron grill set above blazing coals. His body is stripped. He is tied down. The heat is unbearable, but he doesn't scream. Instead, he turns his head and says something that freezes everyone in shock. "You can turn me over. This side is already roasted." Who was this man? Why was he able to smile in the face of one of the worst deaths in history? And why do millions still remember his name today? This is the story of St. Lawrence, a man who turned agony into a message, torture into testimony, and flames into faith. To understand why this moment shook the Roman Empire, we need to go back to the beginning. Lawrence was born around the year 225 in a small Roman province called Hispania, in what is now modern-day Spain. From a young age, he stood out, not for his strength or status, but for his heart. He was raised in a Christian family during a time when Christianity wasn't just unpopular, it was illegal. Roman emperors saw Christians as rebels who refused to worship the state gods. But Lawrence didn't care about popularity or power. He wanted truth. He wanted purpose. As a teenager, he moved to the city of Caesar Augusta, now known as Zaragoza. There, while studying theology, he met a man who would change his life forever, a priest named Sixtus. Their bond went beyond teacher and student. Sixtus saw something in Lawrence: courage, compassion, and a fierce dedication to God. So when Sixtus became Pope Sixtus II years later, he brought Lawrence with him to Rome, the heart of the empire. There, Lawrence was appointed Archdeacon of Rome, the highest-ranking deacon in the city. His job: distribute charity, manage church goods, and take care of Rome's poor and suffering. He was the church's treasure keeper, both literally and spiritually. But his rise came at a deadly time. In 257 AD, Emperor Valerian began one of the most brutal crackdowns on Christians in Roman history. First, bishops and priests were ordered to worship Roman gods or face exile. But soon, exile turned to execution. By the next year, Valerian issued a terrifying order. All Christian leaders who refused to sacrifice to Roman gods must be put to death. Rome became a hunting ground for believers. On August 6, 258, while leading a quiet worship in the catacombs beneath the city, Pope Sixtus was caught. Roman soldiers stormed in. Sixtus and 4 deacons were executed on the spot, beheaded without trial. When Lawrence heard the news, he ran to his beloved teacher. According to tradition, with tears streaming down his face, he cried out, "Father, where are you going without your son? Holy priest, where are you going without your deacon?" Sixtus looked at him and spoke with eerie calm. "I'm not leaving you, my son. In 3 days you will follow me." 3 days. That was all the time Lawrence had left. The Romans knew who Lawrence was. As the archdeacon, he managed all the church's wealth: gold, silver, holy relics. So when Sixtus was gone, the prefect of Rome called for Lawrence. He gave him a chilling ultimatum: "Bring me the treasures of the church within 3 days." The prefect thought Lawrence would return with bags of coins, fine artifacts, maybe even hidden gold. But what Lawrence did next would go down in history. He spent those 3 days racing through the streets of Rome, not hiding the treasures, but giving them away. He fed the hungry, helped the sick, clothed the poor. He emptied the church's wealth into the hands of the people who needed it most. Then on the 3rd day, he returned to the prefect with a strange group behind him. beggars, orphans, the crippled, the sick, the elderly. He stretched out his arms and declared, "Here are the treasures of the church." The prefect was stunned, then furious. He thought Lawrence was mocking him. Instead of gold, he saw weakness. Instead of riches, he saw rags. But Lawrence wasn't mocking, he was teaching. The real treasure of the church, he believed, was the people, especially those most in need. The prefect saw this as insult. He ordered the harshest punishment possible, not a quick death, not a clean one. Lawrence would be roasted alive. The crowd gathered in horror as soldiers brought Lawrence to the square. An enormous iron grill, almost like a metal bed frame, was placed over burning coals. The heat was already unbearable before the execution even began. The soldiers stripped Lawrence, tied his arms and legs, and stretched him out over the searing metal. The grill began to glow. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. People turned away, expecting cries of pain, screams for mercy. But something impossible happened. Lawrence didn't scream, he didn't cry. His face, according to many eyewitnesses, seemed calm, serene, almost joyful. And then he spoke. "You can turn me over. This side is done." The crowd gasped. Even the guards stepped back. Was this madness, divine strength, or something the human mind can't fully explain? Some say Lawrence was later beheaded. Others insist he died on that grill. But one thing is certain, his final words would echo through history. What happened next was nothing short of a miracle. According to Christian tradition, as Lawrence died, his face shone with light. Instead of a foul stench, some said his body gave off a sweet scent. Some Roman senators watching were so moved, so shaken by what they saw, that they converted to Christianity on the spot. Rome was changing. After Lawrence died, his followers gathered his burned body and buried it in a secret cemetery on the Via Tiburtina. Later, when Emperor Constantine made Christianity legal, a church was built over his grave, a small basilica that grew and grew. Today, it is known as the Basilica of San Lorenzo, one of the 7 major churches of Rome. But Lawrence's story didn't stay in Rome. In Spain, his homeland, Lawrence inspired one of the grandest buildings ever constructed, the monastery of San Lorenzo de El Escorial, designed in the shape of a grill to honor his martyrdom. Artists across centuries painted his final moments. Fra Angelico, Titian, Rubens, each trying to capture the balance between brutal suffering and divine peace. In poems and hymns, his name was sung. The Latin poet Prudentius wrote some of the most beautiful verses ever penned about martyrdom in his honor. Even language remembered him. The word laurel, a symbol of victory, comes from Laurentius, Lawrence's Latin name. Today, Saint Lawrence is the patron saint of the poor, of cooks, of librarians. And every year on August 10th, his feast day, people remember him. That night, something remarkable happens in the sky. A meteor shower streaks across the heavens, the tears of Saint Lawrence, as if the stars themselves remember the man who burned but didn't break. Why does this story still matter today? Because Lawrence didn't just face pain, he transformed it. He didn't just endure suffering, he turned it into meaning. At a time when we chase comfort and avoid discomfort at all costs, St. Lawrence's story reminds us there are some things worth sacrificing for. Some truths are bigger than fear. And some treasures can't be measured in gold. When Lawrence called the poor the treasure of the church, he wasn't being poetic, he meant it. That truth, simple but bold, still speaks today. In his final act, he gave more than his life. He gave us a challenge. What do you treasure? What would you stand for, even if it cost you everything? St. Lawrence's death is more than just a tale of torture. It's a story of humor in pain, peace in fire, and love that no flames can burn away. He smiled while he burned, not because he was strong, but because he believed. And in that belief, he showed the world a different kind of power, one that doesn't come from swords or gold or emperors, but from faith, courage, and the simple idea that real wealth lies in serving others. So the next time you look up at the night sky and see a shooting star, remember this. Sometimes even fire becomes light.